Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ancient Egypt Iceberg video. Originally created by King Steve 62, I will link their profile and the post to the original iceberg down in the description below. If you are unfamiliar with an iceberg chart, as we move from top to bottom, we will be getting more obscure with information as this series goes on. And the tips, the top and the bottom tips, have the least amount of information, while in the middle has the most amount of information. I will be frequently mentioning mummies and racism, so if that bothers you in any particular way, please click off the video now. And for those reasons, I will be listing this series as not safe for work. I have some things I want to talk about, but I don't want to put in the front of the video. I'll be putting it when I am done with the video. So if you want to know more about that, please stay until the end of the video. With everything I wanted to talk about, we will now begin the Ancient Egypt Iceberg, starting with Layer 1. Layer 1's topics probably has information that is recognizable to you, even if you don't have an interest in Egyptology. So during his civil war, Caesar walks into the Egyptian palace in Alexandria to ask for aid against Ramesses II, who was invading the Roman East to reclaim his father's empire's land. Cleopatra at this time was co-ruling with her brother Ptolemy, and she fled to Lower Egypt and managed to get back to Upper Egypt by rolling herself into a rug, sneaking into where Caesar was being besieged, which impressed Caesar so much that they began a secret romantic relationship. To make an already long story even shorter, Caesar eventually won his conflict between Ptolemy when he drowned in the Nile River. Cleopatra became sole pharaoh of Egypt, and they toured around Egypt after their victory, and coincidentally Cleopatra was pregnant. Cleopatra would soon give birth to a baby boy, whom historians call Caesarion. Caesarion was Caesar's only biological son, and that will become important shortly. Cleopatra was in Rome at the time of Caesar's assassination because she was serving as a client queen between Rome and Egypt, and she decided to stay a little bit more after her protection was gone because she expected Caesarion to be named the sole heir of Caesar's will. When it was revealed to everyone in Rome that Caesar named Octavian his heir to the will, Cleopatra and Caesarion immediately fled back to Egypt to prepare for the upcoming other civil war. Cleopatra and Mark Antony famously fought at the Battle of Actium against Octavian, where they both lost. Cleopatra soon Alt F4'd herself to avoid any punishment, and Caesarion was executed by Octavian after Octavian consolidated Rome. Octavian killed Caesarion because Octavian was adopted by Caesar, while Caesarion was blood related to Caesar, which added more legitimacy to Caesarion's possible claims against the title of Julius Caesar. Perhaps if Caesar had more time to perhaps change his will, he might have had Caesarion as his sole heir to the will, because it would have had a Caesar both in Egypt and Rome in power. King Tut was the son of Akhenaten, who is famous for attempting to convert Egypt into monotheism under the sun god Aten, and his sister KV35, the younger lady, which we will talk about later in this iceberg. He was also married to his half-sister Ankhesu-Samun and had 2 daughters, which were buried in his tomb with him. King Tut's mummy had 2 missing ribs and pieces of bone inside of his skull, which suggested a fatal chariot accident. However, the missing ribs were a result of a non-fatal injury near the time of his death, and the bones were a result of a mistake done while unwrapping his initial mummy. Due to possible genetic defects and several bouts of malaria, it is possible that King Tut developed sickle cell anemia and died because of complications from it. King Tut was made famous when in 1920, Howard Carter and his team of archaeologists uncovered his nearly intact tomb with over 5,000 artifacts, including his famous golden funerary mask, which over the decades have been toured all around the world, being witnessed by tens of millions of people. Another famous point of King Tut was the Curse of the Pharaohs that was greatly associated with him. There were 5 members who are considered to be victims of the Curse of the Pharaohs that were on Howard Carter's team, including himself, Lord Carnarvon, the lead financier of the expedition, and 3 others, who all died within 6 months of the initial investigation. However, Howard Carter died 16 years later of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which compared to the 6 months is an extremely long amount of time for a curse to hit. To add another counterpoint against the Curse of the Pharaohs, Lord Carnarvon's daughter, who was also directly with the investigation, died 57 years later after the initial expedition in 1980. I think due to the combinations of a public frenzy from the initial discovery, as well as a culture clash between ancient Egypt and the Western press, that this whole Curse of the Pharaohs exploded when 4 members of the team just died coincidentally relatively close to the initial expedition. And with that, we are going to move on to Ramesses II. Ramesses II was the 3rd pharaoh of the 19th dynasty of ancient Egypt and is considered to be its greatest. Ramesses II ruled for a record 66 years before dying at the age of 91. During his reign, he oversaw a number of construction projects, including the temples of Abu Simbel and the Ram Museum, a new capital where he relocated to called Pi Ramses, which was his base of operations into Syria, and a number of cartouches that were also carved into buildings that weren't built during his reign, but were carved to increase the prestige. 16 days after the Battle of Kadesh directly led to the Treaty of Kadesh, which was signed by the Egyptians and the Hittites. The Treaty of Kadesh is the only ancient Near East treaty where both sides of the treaty are known to us, as well as being the earliest ancient treaty ever recorded. The contents of the treaty include a cessation of all hostilities between both sides, as well as a promise to withdraw influence and any attempts of further influencing the region of Syria. The Treaty of Kadesh also stipulated that in the case that one party would succumb to a rebellion or insurgency, or be attacked by a third party, that the other party would send military aid or supplies or something to that effect in order to assist the former party. The treaty was intended to last forever, and the signatories bound their children and grandchildren to the treaty. And it also said that whoever were to break the treaty first would be plagued with bad fortune and famine, and vice versa. The Egyptian version of the treaty specified that the Battle of Kadesh was a result of a war, while the Hittite version kind of just danced around that there were hostilities between both sides, but I guess nothing really major happened. The treaty was originally written on 2 silver tablets, which have today since been lost. The Egyptian copy was found on 2 walls on 2 temples that were built during the reign of Ramesses II, while the Hittite version was found on clay tablets that were written in cuneiform in the Hittite capital. Ramesses II was laid to rest in KV7, however he was discovered in DB 320, which I will discuss in the next video when we discuss DB 320. But with that, we will now move on to the Exodus. The story of Exodus refers to the Israelites leaving of slavery in Egypt under the leadership of Moses and guided by Yahweh, who had chosen the Israelites as his people. Joseph, son of Jacob, who was also called Israel, would be sold into slavery and would travel to Egypt because of his jealous brothers. He would spend much of his time in jail before seeing audience with the pharaoh because of his accurate interpretations of dreams. the Pharaoh had a dream which Joseph correctly interpreted as a famine and advised the Pharaoh to prepare for such a famine. When the famine did occur, Joseph was promoted to vizier. The famine also affected the lands of Canaan, which Jacob's descendants, Joseph's brothers, were settling, and the Pharaoh allowed Joseph to move his family to Egypt in the land of Goshen, which I will put in a diagram on the video, but it is the area between the Red Sea and like the right of the Nile Delta. By the time of Exodus, however, all of Jacob's descendants were bound to slavery under a new pharaoh who had forgotten the good deeds of Joseph, and that's where the Israelites were during Exodus. Moses would then escape death from an edict sent by the Pharaoh of Exodus by the Pharaoh's daughter. He would then marry an Egyptian and settle the desert until receiving a message from the burning bush telling him to rescue his people, the Israelites. Moses then sought audience with the Pharaoh, demanding him to free the Israelites from slavery. The Pharaoh refused, and in retribution, Jehovah sent a series of 10 plagues to strike Egypt until the Pharaoh relented. The Pharaoh did not relent, and Moses would lead the Israelites to the Red Sea. The Pharaoh's forces chased after them. Moses would part the Red Sea and the Israelites would cross, and the Red Sea would stop parting just in time when the Pharaoh's forces were about to enter the parted Red Sea. Moses and the Israelites would then spend 40 years walking around the wilderness, only being sustained by manna sent by Yahweh before settling the promised land in Canaan, which would kick off the rest of the events in the Bible. One mystery regarding ancient Egypt and the Exodus is the identity of the Pharaoh of Exodus, with most pointing to Ramesses II as being the Pharaoh from the Exodus. And that's it for the Exodus. We will now move on to the last topic, Ancient Aliens. Ancient Aliens is a History Channel show that showcases pseudoscientific topics, and it is a leading cause of the History Channel's decline to more entertainment shows. Ancient Aliens presents itself as a 1-hour non-critical documentary style show wherein the status quo is introduced probably near the beginning of the show, followed by a refutation of the status quo, followed by expert commentary, and then it loops around. Let's break it down by an example, i.e. Ancient Egypt, wherein Ancient Egypt is the status quo that is talking point perhaps throughout the whole episode, which is followed by a refutation, let's say aliens visited Ancient Egypt, followed by expert commentary, wherein some person that they cut away to who is talking to someone else off camera while their face is pointed at an angle talks about some really vague comment about how the topic in question, the refutal in question, is possibly true. And the reason why I'm really vague in all this is because we're gonna wrap everything that is below the status quo as vague, because the whole point, I believe, is to have all these points shoot across but not exactly hit, so that you, the viewer, hit themselves and believe, or at least are skeptical of the status quo. And you would be like, oh, well, if this might possibly be true, then certainly all the other ones could possibly be true. What about the Mayans? What about the Chinese? What about the Europeans? What about the Africans? And then you watch for 13 more seasons. They usually have someone explain myths, and they also apparently used to have like actual accredited scientists and experts to refute some of the claims they made in earlier seasons, which I actually didn't know about, and that is really interesting and surprising coming from Ancient Aliens. So like, I think most of the time they will like point out an artifact either on site or like during like B-roll footage or something, and they'll be like, well, certainly this is really weird, right? This can't possibly be from like ancient civilizations. And then they'll do the whole like status quo, refutation, expert commentary, and then it goes on. So, of course, like I hinted to before, ancient Egypt has been presented on Ancient Aliens before, including, but potentially not limited to, ancient aliens visiting Egypt and influencing their culture because hieroglyphs are weird, ancient aliens building the pyramids, very classic one, and ancient Egyptians building obelisks as Tesla coils to conduct electricity? That's the weird one. As someone who watched Ancient Aliens as a kid and someone who despises Ancient Aliens for what they've done to the entertainment and science community in general, it is still pretty fun. Like, I haven't watched it in a long time, but trying to watch clips and trying to understand how the show works was, like, sort of fun for, like, a little bit until I got really tired of the same old routine that I just explained before. If Ancient Aliens existed in its own vacuum without being able to hurt anything around it, I think it is a fun and wacky show that presents alternative theories with some like logic backing it via like the myths and the ideas that we are able to gather from those civilizations. But because it is well known and prevalent and professional enough to the naive to believe in such a thing, and since it's also on the History Channel, which of course also naive people will assume it is credible in being a history resource on television, that Ancient Aliens is really dangerous and really stupid to watch if you are really into those types of things. But to people like me and people who just are looking for fun, wacky ideas for like a night or something, it is fun. It is genuinely fun to hear these wacky ideas. And that's concerning because I believe Ancient Aliens takes itself mostly seriously when presenting its information. And I think that's where we are going to leave off Layer 1 of the Ancient Egypt Iceberg. This has been a wonderful experience. Not recording-wise, I spent a lot of time recording, but I am not going to get into that probably until I finish with the actual series, where I will do one big conclusion, a wrap-up, and gather my thoughts about it. It's already getting long, but I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching until the end of the video. I greatly appreciate it. New videos, as in like new episodes of the series, will hopefully come out in a regular fashion. Hopefully I don't come into more recording snafus and have to change my setup last minute like I've done before. So expect episode 2 to come out within the next week or two. Hopefully I'm able to record and edit it within that time. Episodes will get longer as we get deeper into the information. Perhaps I will have to split it up even more. If you like that sort of thing, if you like your information more piecewise, then good for you. If you like the longer form of content, then that's unfortunate, but I don't know. We'll have to see from there. I am shilling for money. I am doing this of my free time. I am a college student and will be entering college very soon. I would like to buy a 14-inch MacBook Pro. I have money saved up, and I would like some extra money to buy a device so it doesn't break my bank, but also I could buy a device which not only will allow me to do work really well in school, but also allow me to create better videos, able to process effects and videos and titles so it could actually be a nicer video, because I want to improve in my skills as a entertainer and informer through this medium. And I have an M1 laptop already, but I think if the channel goes well that I would need the laptop sooner than later. And eventually I am thinking of getting a 14-inch like professional laptop, maybe November at the very latest. But if I can start getting it now and start working on more technical aspects of my video, that would be great. You'll be able to do that by visiting the links in the description down below. I have a Patreon that I set up. Everything's not really set up in the Patreon. I don't have everything set in stone. I have things that I want to do, but I would love feedback not only on the video but also on my setup and my plans for a channel. Any questions, feel free. I also have a coffee that you can send one-time donations with. If you have any questions regarding the video or like my early process right now, I want to add that to the Patreon, so I don't want to give out too much information. I want to make the Patreon a little special for like behind the scenes footage that I do. But if you have any questions regarding mostly the video or what I do, then leave it down in the comments. Feedback is greatly appreciated. I would love to hear feedback on this video. Subtitles. I need to talk about subtitles. I would love to subtitle my videos in the style that is not the auto-generated subtitles, because I just don't like how they appear in screen. Though they're accurate, they might not capture the full amount of information in a professional style way. So therefore I, as of this moment, am going to be doing the subtitles in between videos. Expect full subtitles that fit the videos maybe 1 to 3 days after the initial upload, because I have to do a lot of work, not only planning the next video but also actually writing it out. And I am not wealthy enough to like afford something that auto generates video or something. So I'll find something. But share. Also share. That's gonna be the last note I'm gonna leave off. Please share this to people who like this sort of content. I want to keep doing this. I love to educate and entertain and inform people on stuff, really niche stuff like this. I don't think it gets enough attention as it should, and I think it should be approachable and explainable in such a way where you can go and leave and be slightly more knowledgeable in a subject that you perhaps never knew about. And I want to keep doing that. That's just what I love to do. And I love to challenge myself in making videos and editing and writing scripts and teaching. That's just what I want to do. And I hope that whoever this video is able to reach out to, I hope that I am able to get your support. I hope that you believe in me. This is a resume. This is a first impression of me to you. And if you believe that I can do this, because I believe that I'm able to do this, but if you believe as well, then that means more than anything that I can ever wish or dream of. So please, for right now, just get the word out. I want to do this. I love doing this, but I want to love it even more with a bunch of people. So please excuse me for my ramblings, but that's it. That's all I really want to say for right now. I need to pack for college. I need to move in. I need to worry about loans and paying my balance for this semester. I need to worry about the future of this channel and the videos and how I potentially might get money, or first and foremost get the word out, like I said. But seriously, that's it. Thank you for watching this part. On screen now hopefully is the second part. By now I mean like as in when I am staring at the camera and recording this, it is definitely not up. But in the future, this will show up to segue you to the next video of the series. And with that, I am going to say I hope you have a good day, and I hope you do well until we see each other again in the next video. Bye.